Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Tonight we bring you the 54th edition of Belizean Affairs. As you all well know, we talk about issues concerning Belize. And on this platform, we use it for educational purpose as well as for Belizeans at home and abroad to learn about their fundamental rights via the Constitution. With that said, let's go to Mr. Leonard Brackett for his reading and a prayer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Leonard Brackett, and I'd just like to do a short reading of a passage here from the Bible. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 4 and 5. The soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. A righteous man hateth lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and cannot be trusted, and commit shame. I'll read verse 6. Righteousness keepeth him that is upright in the way, but wickedness overcometh the sinner. That was Proverbs chapter 13, verses 4, 5, and 6. Just like to offer
Thank you for your reading. Yes.
Okay. Divine loving Father, as we come before thy presence once more, we pray that thou mayest hear our petition, that thou mayest grant us our wishes, thou knowest our heart, our desire, and even our most secret thoughts, loving Father. We pray that thou mayest bless our family members, friends, and loved ones, wherever they are. Thou knowest them by name and number. Please continue to bless our country of Belize, its people and its leadership, the Belizean people at home and abroad as well. We pray that thou mayest continue to guide us. Help us as we present this program tonight, that we may say something that will be of some benefit to someone. Continue to abide and guide us. We ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. And this, our 54th edition of Belizean Affairs.
Ancestors, them get glory. After war and fight for this land, today I feel proud to be Belizean. And every time I walk through the streets, I feel so blessed, so good and so free. And every time my foot touch the beach, I feel so at peace, thanking God for my country. And I don't know how it make you feel when the breeze such a fracas just start to chew up, but I'm kinda living in a fantasy. It's the only place that I wanna be. My Belize, my homeland by the sea, beautiful with the trees and valleys, culture rich with a one big family, all the way from the mountains to the keys. Your vacation dream is home to me. Belize. Make I tell you a little bit about my history. Home Belize was a British crown colony. By September 1981, we take back we country in a wee hand. And every time I think about Belize, I feel so blessed, so good and so free. Place full of a diversity, we Creole got the culture as we love it. And I don't know how it make you feel when the drums start not make you want to dig it up, but I'm kinda living in a fantasy. It's the only place that I wanna be. My Belize, my homeland by the sea, beautiful.
Good night again to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Tonight, I want to talk some more about the People's Constitution Commission and the fundamental rights that they are teaching to the Belizean people using third party at home and abroad. And tonight, I want to show to you, the populace, how when our forefathers drafted the Belizean Constitution, that they did not just sit down and say, we will write a constitution, but they had in every aspect to protect the constitution, which they know would protect the Belizean people. Now, as we all can see, we have some learned gentlemen teaching you about your fundamental rights. But what they are not teaching you is what protects those rights, which is the basic structure and our forefathers who enshrine it in the preamble so that it can never be written out of existence. Now, why I'm bringing up this topic, and you will see for yourself why the government is coming to you, the people, because there's a threshold, even with the supermajority that they have, and the S69, the government is allowed to make any laws that they want to make. But the basic structure of the Constitution, which protects your fundamental rights, Section 3 through 19 and Section 20 for judicial review, is untouchable by them. And I want to play this first video clip because right now, Belize is in a 4-day summit with social protection. And I want you to hear exactly what this lady will say. Please listen carefully. I want you to hear what this lady will say.
The 4-day Social Protection Summit represents a significant milestone in the implementation of the UN Joint Program with a primary objective to engage partners and stakeholders in a national dialogue towards the development of a social protection framework and a strategy for Belize. This will encompass a comprehensive social protection flow which will be costed, ensuring minimum protection across the life cycle for every Belizean. The United Nations is firm in its commitment to support the government in making a reality the social protection for all, as has been mentioned before, a fundamental human right, which means it is non-negotiable, non-debatable. It's just a matter of us getting on the board and moving the train forward. And I want to say at this point that I want to congratulate the government of Belize. Sitting in the second row and seeing all the powerful women sitting in the front row, I know we are on the right track. I think we want to give ourselves a big hand. Belize is ready to establish a social protection floor for all.
Now, people at home and abroad, if you watch the clip that I have just played and you heard what the lady said about fundamental rights, it is not negotiable and it is what? Not debatable. So now, as we have tried to teach you on this platform about your constitutional right, and as I mentioned just earlier, this is the threshold that the government cannot accomplish he cannot violate your fundamental right without coming to you. And he is coming to you with the intention of turning you into sovereign citizens. He wants to use you, the people at home and abroad, to violate your own fundamental right to please him. And you heard it from this lady. It's not debatable, it's not negotiable. So when our forefathers wrote the Belizean Constitution, you know why they enshrine it? So that it cannot be written out of existence. Because what? It is not debatable and it is not negotiable. With that said, let me hear from you, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you very much, Greg, for bringing up this topic again. First of all, I want to say that the reason why it is called fundamental rights, as well as your basic civil rights, as well as your inalienable rights, as well as your God-given rights, those rights that you are born with and entitled to by just the virtue of being born and lived and having the opportunity to enjoy those rights, which are not granted to you under the Constitution, but are protected by the Constitution. Those rights are not granted by the Constitution because you're born with those. All the Constitution does is put power behind your individual rights so that you can have them respected. And it forbids the government from even tampering with them, by the way. Yet we have scoff laws. Let me not get too heavy in the first part of the program. Let me cool off a little bit. You have people coming to you, telling you, for example, as young Mr. Musa, Minister of Home Affairs, intimated the other day that some Belizeans are more preferential than others. So therefore, they need to go and make laws to protect those Belizeans against the others. That is not what the Constitution requires. Any law other than the Constitution itself, any law that the government is empowered to make has to be bounded within the four corners of the Constitution, which means that it cannot be found violative of the constitutional prescripts, requirements, and or edicts. Our Constitution is a mandamus document. The phrase mandamus then meaning that we command those who are in authority to abide by that Constitution. As you said earlier, Greg, when our forefathers put that Constitution together, I am not of any doubt that those individuals had some divine inspiration in terms of how they went about structuring our Constitution. They had some divine guidance and I would say interest, which is why they stipulated to start with. Our Constitution and our laws and our country takes God as the primary guide and support of us, the Belizean people, a prayerful nation, a small little nation by that, but very prayerful. And as was said a few times before, that it is because probably of our prayerfulness and our godly intents is why our country, after 40 years of independence, is still going and hopefully be able to go and continue to improve and become better. And after 100 and odd years of the Guatemalans haggling at us, we are still able to retain some semblance of control over our country. I hope that our young people spend the necessary time to learn as much as they can about the history of our country and about our country in general. Because if they're not knowledgeable and prepared, they will not be able to survive the storm, and they will probably end up being cowered into a corner and dispossessed of their country. But with knowledge comes fortitude, the strength of purpose, and that purpose of defending our country, as our national anthem says. But we cannot fulfill the promise of our national anthem if we're not prepared with the level of knowledge, because we don't have an army substantive enough to defend us from our mortal enemies, especially the one to our west and our south. We don't have the resource to afford an army, and we don't have the level and number in our population to be able to draft enough people to be in an army to help us defend ourselves. So when these so-called leaders of ours come to us and tell us we need to be a republic, they're just jinxing us, because none of them will go to the front line to help defend a future republic if they ever get that far. But yes, they would like to be able to exercise the powers under a republic, whereby they will have ultimate power and accountable to themselves only, not to the people, not to the Constitution, and not to any foreign head of state, but their own local head of state, which would be one of them. That's what they're after, which is why they're fighting so hard to try and change your constitution. But this lady that spoke in the clip that Greg just played a little earlier, apparently they are getting the message that our Belizean leaders, as we have been pointing out on this platform, are hell-bent in changing our constitution to the point of eviscerating it, as if the present constitution is not good enough. If they were only following the present constitution, Belize would have had a hell of a lot much better government and governance services than we have had so far. Were it not because of the violations that these jackals have been carrying on in both parties, by the way, because Mr. Barrow attempted to grab power by fiddling with the Part 1, Section 2 of our Constitution, when he added in there subsection 2 to try and give themselves the ultimate power so that the legislature then will become more powerful than the Constitution itself, to the point where they can alter the Constitution at will. And nobody, not even the court, would have any judicial review options, or any of the citizens would have any options to go to a court for judicial review if they feel aggrieved. They also went in to Section 69 and altered that, because under 69 is where it tells them what prerogatives they need to be able to have in place in order to make just about any change except certain changes. And they don't want to have any exception. So they pointed out there, for all intents and purposes, for the removal of any doubts, it is all exhaustive, that they are then empowered to write any laws, even if that law is violative of the Constitution. Because by writing that law as the law writing entity, the legislature, they're not restricted according to them by nothing other than what comes out of their head. So they would like to violate the basic structure doctrine. They would like to violate the separation of powers doctrine. They would like to be able to violate your constitutional civil rights and basic rights, human rights, and your God-given right, as well as your constitutionally imbued rights that they're not supposed to tamper with, because they have Mr. Osha and others running around telling the citizen that your rights can be overridden. They're not permanent. And under SOE, even if that SOE is false or bogus, the government can claim the right to abridge your rights, which is farthest from the truth. But that is what they're running around teaching the people. Instead of teaching the people what preserves their right, what guarantees their right, and how high the bar is for the government to be able to transgress any of those, not willy-nilly, by just a basic declaration that, oh, this is the circumstance. They had to prove it. And that is the right of the Governor General and the prerogative of the Governor General to make sure that they prove that there is an emergency and not just a declared emergency, because they want to enhance powers that they don't normally have the right to be able to exercise. That's the kind of education that these people should be given to our Belizean people. So we can see from a mile away when the legislator, the government, or anybody, including the so-called constitutional reform or People's Constitution Commission, if and when they come up with whatever they come up with, that they don't come up with something contrary to the interests of the people, that they give to the Prime Minister, and that the Prime Minister allows to go to the House to be voted on and become law. Because I'm going to tell you, there are many laws that the House have voted on before that have been struck down by the Supreme Court and other courts. So I don't care how many of them get together and create an illegal or bogus law or unconstitutional law, it is still unconstitutional, it is still bogus, and it's still a null and void law. But that's not what they believe, and that's not what they would like for the people to know or believe. So thank God we have had the privilege to be on this particular platform for 50-odd shows so far, educating you, the general public, as to what is and isn't your constitutional rights and the bar that the government have in order to transgress those rights. I wish they were doing the same thing. I wish there were others doing the same thing, so that the little effort that we are putting out would be magnified, and more of our people, instead of sitting on Facebook chit-chatting back and forward, wasting their money to buy time on their internet services, buying their phone, want to have the latest phone of the day, but have no knowledge about what really is critical and important to their well-being. I wish people would pay more attention. We're not doing this just because, we think we're beautiful, and as a result, we just want to show a beautiful face. I'm being sarcastic now when I say that, right? When I talk about being beautiful, because you don't refer to no man as being beautiful, but I'm just trying to lighten up the air when I say that, no? That because of our beautiful face, we just want to get on TV and expound and expose and talk and make a clown of ourselves, talking about stuff that the people don't know anything about, are not interested in, and could care less about. I wish it was not the case. I wish people would take seriously what we're trying to say and educate themselves, prepare themselves, because I'm telling you, Belizeans at home and abroad, hell is going to visit our door. And if we're not prepared to slam that door shut and lock it and bar it down, hell is going to be right in on us, because it's coming directly at us. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Well said, Mr. Brackett. Now, the next clip I'm going to play, let me express this to the people at home and abroad, especially the people living in the diaspora. As we all know, the government is hell-bent on doing constitution reform, and he has passed into law that the people living in the diaspora by law must give their opinion.
Mr.
But
Chairman, Mr.
let
Chairman,
me
before
say this.
we move on, just something on what we were talking about before. Before we move on,
Yes,
if you don't mind, that young lady that came and was speaking about United Nations human rights and inalienable rights. It is not just that young lady that will be coming to Belize, okay? Because I've been telling the people that listen to this show that some of our leaders in Belize think that because they can harm our local Belizean law and they're above the law according to them, that they can keep on behaving the way they have been behaving. And I've been sounding the alarm and pointing out to them, be careful, watch your steps, because we're not in the same era that we were before. And someone who will end up going to the Hague. Maybe they thought I was just talking off the top of my head and trying to blow hot air. But just remember, that young lady is not the first or the last person that will be visiting Belize. And there might come a point in time when some of these idiots will end up, because they don't want to put UNCAC in place, so they think that by not putting UNCAC in place, they're out of the hot water, out of the frying pan. But they don't know that they're out of the frying pan, heading down into the fire, because accountability in Belize will be had. Bottom line. But I'll leave that for another time to discuss and flesh out better. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for yielding and allowing me the privilege to go back and point that out, because there's a connection there. That young lady is not there just, because somebody wanted to invite her to come there. She's there on a mission. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. As I was saying, it amazed me how the people who is pushing this in the diaspora, who is representing for the government, is stipulating to the people that it is passed into law, and by that law, everyone should give an opinion or should participate. But what amazed me most is how these same people on these third-party platforms is not seeking their constitutional right when it comes to the Seventh Amendment, which is more dedicated than the People's Constitution reform right now. And I will tell you why I'm saying this. Because the government of Belize continues to marginalize the local Belizean people. And he is finding the ways to do it. As we will see from the next clip, you will understand perfectly what I'm saying. Because per se, this present government, he has no problem giving citizen to an alien who is coming in, but in return, he does not want to do the same for Belizeans abroad who have children and children have children. And I want you to listen to it carefully for yourself. Because what this boils down to, if you have grandkids who have never been to Belize and decided they want to come to the land where their parents was born, you know what? It will be a hell of a pushchair for them to accomplish that. Let's hear it for yourself.
So, Madam Speaker, the Cabinet has considered this matter very carefully. And we have decided that we should introduce the same one-year residency requirement for the minor to qualify for Belizean nationality. What has been happening is that thousands of these minors have been getting nationality with no connection to Belize. They don't even visit Belize. But because one of their parents now is a Belizean national, then they get a Belizean nationality and could get a Belizean passport. So the Belizean Nationality Amendment Act of 2023, when passed, will introduce the one-year residency requirement. In this way, the minor will be able to get his or her nationality. We're not saying he can't get it. They will be able to get it after 1 year residency in Belize, the same way their parents managed to get their nationality after 1 year of marriage and being resident in Belize. Madam Speaker, we believe that persons who seek to obtain Belizean nationality must have some sort of connection to our country. Now, it's important for me to make this very, very clear, and a member of Cabinet did ask this question. The amendment will not apply to, nor will it prohibit what we call roots Belizeans, Belizeans that got their nationality because they were born in Belize, from passing on their nationality to their children, whether they were born, wherever they were born, without having any kind of residency requirement. Notwithstanding the 2014 legislation, descendants of persons who received economic citizenship prior to 2014 have continued to apply for citizenship by descent, relying on the provisions of the Belize Nationality Act that enables descendants to rely on their parents' nationality to obtain Belizean nationality. Hundreds, if not thousands, have become Belizeans using the procedure since 2014. Well, what happened, again, to give further explanation, if a person gets the nationality through the economic citizenship program, then that person becomes a Belizean, then their children apply for citizenship, and so they become Belizeans. Then their children apply because they have citizenship, and now we probably are maybe on the 4th and 5th generation of economic citizen. People are applying because of an economic citizenship program, program that was done during the time of probably their grandfather, or even some instances their great grandfather. If that was not bad enough, Madam Speaker, we have noticed also that non-Belizean spouses who marry Belizean economic citizenship have also applied for nationality, relying on the provision in the law that entitles a spouse to claim Belizean nationality through marriage. Again, hundreds of persons have taken advantage of this loophole. Madam Speaker, we believe that these loopholes are being abused and used to defeat the intent of this Honorable House to abolish economic citizenship.
No, people at home and abroad, you heard that for yourself. And I want you to really speak your mind on that. Our present Prime Minister has no problem giving amnesty and nationality to people who is coming in from El Salvador, Nicaragua, or from any other place. But he wants to stop Belizean people living abroad, if they are 4th or 5th generation and their grandparents or past grandparents have ties to Belize. He wants to stop that. Now just imagine a constitutional what? Right. That is what, as the lady says, not debatable and not what? Negotiable. Let me hear from you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You know what part I'm going with that, right? I think this good gentleman, acting as a prime minister or pretending to be a prime minister, or at least occupying the position of the prime ministership of our country, he deserves to be in jail, as I said quite a few times before. First and foremost, he has no regards, respect, or consideration for our current constitution and has been violating it left, right, center, up and down, right, left, backwards, forward, in all different manner. The gentleman is a scofflaw. He has no regards for it, for the laws that he swore allegiance to, and he only swore allegiance in order to get the powers that we, the people, vested in him. Okay? He just, in other words, went through the process because he had to go through that process. But when he swore allegiance, when he went to the Governor General, in order for him and his cabinet to be appointed and be assented the power of governance, he never did once tell the Governor General that he don't want to swear to that constitution or that he have any objection to stating what was in the oath of office before he assumes the office. He didn't follow any of the protocols. Why? Because he's a scofflaw. Because the rightful thing for him to have done under a consensus objector principle would have been for him to tell the Governor General at the time he was being sworn in that he objected to swearing that particular oath of office and oath of allegiance. There are two different oaths that he had to sign, that he had to assent to, he had to agree to before he was given the keys to the kingdom of Belize. But he didn't have the decency then, and even now, to act lawful. And he's going about, as I've been pointing out to you, Belizeans at home and abroad, over and over for the past, I don't know how many years now, that we're dealing with rogue individuals who comprise or have captured our governance system and have gone rogue as a government. They're unwilling to abide by the Constitution. They're unwilling to respect people's basic civil rights and your constitutional rights. They are unwilling to do anything that is appropriate other than do what they want because they can. How the hell does this idiot come up with this grand idea to say that he wants to restrict the constitutional rights vested in those people to whom they have given economic citizenship to, and or even the ones who are born Belizeans, whose children, according to the Constitution, are entitled to grandfather their Belizean nationality? He wants to put up obstacles to say if they can't come and live in the country for 1 year, which is very unlikely for basic Belizeans or anybody that's living abroad to have to do that or get to do that. But yet he can violate the Constitution and offer amnesty as well as citizenship to other people from other countries, just in order to get a few dollars from the United Nations Refugee High Commission. So he is willing to sell the birthright of our country without us telling him that he should have that right. He never told us when he wanted to be elected that that's what we were electing him to go and do, or that we were electing him to go try and trash our Constitution and dispense with it. And even the Constitution says that he's not supposed to be giving any Guatemalan citizenship. But because his wife is of Guatemalan heritage, and he feels like, as an elite in our society who has material wealth, that he can rub shoulder with the Guatemalan Castellanos, them, the elites of Guatemala. That's why he went there. The first thing he did after he got elected, run across to Guatemala with his wife, then have a meeting with the president and enjoy cocktails. That was the order of business for him. Celebrate his victory of capturing the Belizean governance. He never went and visited Mexico and tell Mexico how grateful we, the Belizean people, are for them standing at our side in every which way, including assisting us with economic development and giving us schools and giving us scholarships and giving us acting like a big brother to us. No, he went to our mortal enemy who is trying to claim our territory and who currently is holding on to part of our territory. That's the people that he went and hobnobbed with. And then when I call him out on those issues, where I point out how treacherous he is, some of our own Belizean people, in fact, some of the black people them in Belize, I say, pretend that I'm offending them and offending the good gentleman because of what he does. Not because of what I say, but because of what he does. I'm not supposed to describe what he does. I'm not supposed to complain about what he does. I'm not supposed to point out what he does. I'm just supposed to play the fool and pretend like I don't know what's going on and have no interest or concern. Shut up and sit down. We'll be shutting up. I'm telling you, the diaspora will be shutting up. Or at least a big majority of them. Okay, we will. We'll sit down and we'll start look after our own retirement abroad rather than hoping to retire at home because there's no home for us to go back to. What these people are trying to do to Belize is what has been tried and tested long before Belize ever became independent. But the younger generation today has no concept, knowledge, or understanding about how is it that they are where they are today. Why? They have no interest and no time to spend to they sit down and deal with their Facebook thing, like I said earlier, or maybe they sit down and play on a game, you know, the Super Mario or the shooting game or the war game, or maybe the you know on a telephone they sit down and play the game with the I forget what I call it, man. The one with the birds, them, or maybe the one with the candies, them. You know, people spend hours messing with those things and so-called enjoying or enjoying themselves, which there should be nothing wrong to a certain extent, but not to the exclusion of learning the things that they need to know in order to save them oneself from what's coming at them. The bottom line is that this gentleman has no regard, and the cabal that he have around him apparently are of the same mindset. The only time they want to come to the house is to come and ask for some money, or to come and make some laws to take away people's right, or to suppress people's right, or to do something contrary to good governance. I've yet to see any of the present government come to the house with a proposal to do something to enhance the fundamental rights of our Belizean people. I have yet to see that happen. But this fool is going to get up there in our house and talking as if he doesn't have lawyers among them who could help him to understand what he's talking about and guide him so that he'd stop making stupid mistakes and saying things that doesn't comport with the law and embarrassing himself and the country. This young lady that's talking about fundamental rights under we Constitution, there should have been no need for that young lady to come and to try to point out to us that we need to preserve fundamental rights, but that they're going to try and make it guaranteed under the United Nations, you know, because our Constitution does exactly that: protect and preserve and enhance those basic rights. So we do not need necessarily a United Nations person to come and point that out to us. But that person is aware of the fact that, yes, we do have a constitution that speaks to those matters, but that constitution is subject right now to assault. That constitution is being hauled and pulled to the point of being shredded. But anyhow, I would like to yield back the floor, Mr. Chairman, because I think I'm taking up too much of the time, being
I
selfish.
thank you for your input. What I would like to do right now is go back to 2 clips, and I will play them back to back so that you, the people at home and abroad, can see when we are on this platform and we talk about your fundamental rights and about the government and bastardization of our constitution. And when I said specifically that these people tell on themselves, you will see it for yourself through what I'm about to play. Because a part of what I'm going to play will prove to you how the present government go about doing what they want to do. And by saying that, let me go to the first clip.
Different laws at play here. And the Referendum Act and the People's Constitution Act. So, as you will appreciate, the People's Constitution Act also speaks to a referendum, and a referendum after the whole consultation process with respect to the Constitution. Again, I don't want to prejudice any particular discussion or that we are having at Oceana, but suffice it to say that there is an interplay. Between both the People's Constitution Act and the Referendum Act. There may be difference of opinions as it relates to how the interplay actually operates. If indeed there is an interplay, you take a firm position that, well, there is no interplay. But yeah, but you know, so
They argue with oneself.
There is no interplay, and I will prove it to the people at home and abroad, because I will tell you what they were after when they amended the marijuana bill and when they came with Oceana and they passed this new amendment. I will tell you what they were after, because they tell on themselves, and you will hear it for yourself. Let's listen to what the Prime Minister said.
I don't think it's a matter of willfully ignoring it, but we felt that since we already have the People's Constitutional Commission ongoing right now, that would be the best place to be able to address it through the PCC, since they were asking even for the amendment of the Constitution.
No. Let me tell you, people at home and abroad, what it is. If you recall some months back, people woke up one morning and saw a rig out there that was about to do testing. They did not come out clean and said that the government would be doing testing out there for oil. They denied the fact that that was there to do that, and they said it just came in and it was leaving back. But as I said, they always tell on themselves, and I will tell you why they amended it. They amended it not wanting to have a referendum, because if they had the referendum, it would bar them from doing any testing at all out there. But they are smart. They know once they amend it to say that they will have a referendum if the government thinks about withdrawing the 2017 Maritime Act and that, or any other thing, they were playing games, because that is not what they are after. And I will prove it. I will prove it right now. Listen to this.
I think what the government is trying to do is to not tie us down to something that we might not be able to get out from. The Prime Minister has spoken about it, and in Cabinet we have discussed that at some point in time, technology, even like this type of technology, might be able to tell us what it is that we have out there, whether it is in terms of petroleum, minerals, whatever it is. And so we shouldn't have a legislation that ties us down and not be able to look at our resources. Belize has to depend a lot on its natural resources, but knowing what the value of your natural assets are very important for Belize, because even if you don't exploit it, well, at least you know you have it, so that can be used to put in as a natural asset value, put it on your balance sheet during the time of budgeting, and so it can be also used to leverage finances, to get low interest finances for development projects for the country.
Now you be the judge. You see what they're after? That's why they didn't want to have a referendum, because they knew it would bar them from doing any type of testing out there. But by amending it, it gives them the leeway. You heard it right from them. They are always telling on themselves. Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, when you play that clip with the Prime Minister, and he said that no, he was not flaunting the law, and that, but if the PCC wasn't in place, he would have followed the law. How many words did he use before he contradicted himself or lied on his own self and show how much of a liar he really was? The first sentence that came out of his mouth did not comport with the other sentences that was going on. Right away, he said, no, he was not flaunting the law. But yes, he was flaunting the law, and he blamed the PCC for being in place, which he put in place. And the PCC was not given the authority of overriding the constitution of the country and or the present government. Neither the present constitution nor the present government. Because unless whatever the PCC does, which is a preliminary effort, by the way, they are not changing the constitution. They're only collecting information and providing information with which the government will eventually decide if and to what degree they will change the constitution, if they make any changes. They're not talking about the fact that they are currently empowered to make the changes that the PCC is running around pretending to try and deal with. Hello? I didn't hear nobody thinking about what I just said. I didn't hear no Belizean. I didn't hear no Belizean thinking about what I said. How come? I'm just being funny, right? I don't have to hear how they think. But they're supposed to think about these things, because these are the things that matter in terms of our governance and good governance. So I don't have to hear nobody think and they wonder whether or not I get across to anybody. I'm being funny. I'm being facetious when I, put on that show in terms of pretending like I'm trying to hear what they think, right? Because the man said it in his own words. No, he's not lying. No, he is not violating the law. But yes, I'm violating it because I put one commission in place, and I blame the commission for being in place, for me not being able to do the right thing or follow up with governance, because I am not the Prime Minister anymore. I don't have no powers in me. I've already aggregated that power or given that power or derogated that power to the PCC. So unless the PCC finish what they're doing, and unless we could get with the PCC they put in place to come into law, which will require about half a dozen steps, by the way, then he shouldn't be going to his office on a daily basis or coming to the House and proposing no new rules that the cabinet has decided, because the PCC is in process. Therefore, why are they going to cabinet and then coming to the House and telling the chair of the House that they want to make these laws or change these laws, when in fact that's the prerogative right now, according to him, of the PCC, which is why he was violating the law, and that's why he couldn't carry out the law. They don't only tell upon themselves, they lie upon themselves, but then think all the way they will listen to what they say and just accept everything what they say. We don't have the ability to discern the difference between lies and truth, or we should know otherwise. The man and they operate like a bunch of gangsters or mobsters. That's how they run for your governance affairs. And all against the public's best interests. Now, mind you, if they were doing what they were doing backhandedly with some positive benefit to the society, an outcome for better governance to the society, then you could say, okay, they pull a sleight of hand, but maybe they did it at least not with any amount of malice. Maybe they did it because they thought that that was the only way they could get to do what they need to do to produce better governance. That is not what these knuckleheads are after. They're just after bamboozling us, getting by and getting ahead, and take us all for the ride. And at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do anyhow. Like they learned the Attorney General, smart aleck, going to look into our face and say that there's two different referendums at play here. And then he gone back within the same breath in less than 10 words after that and say, well, if there's any play going on here. And then after that, in another 6 or 7 words after that, he said, but maybe there's no play here. And then he turned around and said again after that, with another few words, in less than 30 words, the man lied about 4 times on the same one point or topic. What kind of credibility is people think that they're supposed to have with people like myself, like you, Mr. Chairman, and other Belizeans who are paying attention to what's going on and who are concerned Belizeans, whether they're at home or abroad? That we have to have people like these that have to pretend that they lie for a living or lie to us so that they could get by and take us all for fools.
Mr. Brackett,
I'll rather yield. Because
I
okay, how
thank
much
you
I
for
explaining
that.
what these people are doing, it seems like people are disinterested, or people are in a trance, or they're asleep and could care less.
I thank you for that, but let me again show how the present government
Just
is
liars,
telling
man.
themselves. Okay? You heard what he said about the 4th and 5th generation and getting Belizean nationality, right? But to be honest, that is not their plan. Their plan is, in so many words, I believe, is you live in America, you stay in America, and don't fool around with what is happening in Belize because you are not wanted here. Period. That is exactly what they're saying to the people in the diaspora. I'll show you why.
Mr. Chairman,
They don't
before you jump
want
there,
them to come in.
Mr. Chairman,
Hold
one
on.
little point. No, one little point, please. Grant me the privilege
Go
for one
ahead,
little point
sir.
before I forget what the point was. Exactly what you just stipulated there, I'll tell you, goes on at the airport. I just got through one series of discussions with some people complaining, Belizeans, born Belizeans, who are out here in the diaspora working and sending their money back home, supporting their family and friends and other people and other organizations and whatever else not. Hard working Belizeans. All of them are complaining that they got treated the same kind of way, and most of them are black people. When they land at the airport, the people at the immigration, they mistreat them. The people at the customs, they mistreat them. And pull them, and then when the tourists then come in, they don't treat the tourists the same way how they treat the black Belizean. And especially if the black Belizean come with an American passport, even though he's a Belizean or she's a Belizean. These kind of attitudes and behavior and conduct towards real Belizean people and the people where they support for the economy, even if they weren't supporting the economy, by mere factor that they're Belizean and carrying a Belizean passport or were born in Belize, they should not be treated like that and be made to feel like they're not welcome back into their own country, which is exactly the point that you was raising just now. But I brought that up because, as I'm saying, just during the course of this week, I'm dealing with some of those matters with hundreds of people that are complaining, having the same complaint. Every time they come to Belize, they get harassed. They want to come to Belize and spend their money in Belize instead of go to Thailand and Jamaica and other places and spend their money there. They want to come to Belize to help our own country. But then they have people there, and then they complain to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They complain all up and down the chain of command. They complain to Mr. Young out here as the ambassador. They complain to the people in LA at the consulate. They complain to the people in Florida and New York and all over. So people are getting fed up and tired. There's going to come a time, like I told, well, I didn't send that letter, but I think I mentioned it about 2 or 3 times on this particular platform. There's going to come a time when Belizeans out here will stop paying for their own demise. People are getting tired and fed up. And I know that is part of what those guys back there want to have happen, so that they could just keep on bringing in and keep Latinizing the place and find a way to get out all the Creole. Basically, what they're trying to do is achieve the ultimate objective. And that, again, I just wrote on 2 different platforms earlier this week on that same subject too. But I won't get into that because there will be more time for that. Thank you, Mr.
As I was saying before, the government have an agenda, and the agenda is to go republic. And what will make it more easier if there are less Belizean in here than there are nationalities? I will show you how it is working. First, they raise the passport fee, so it's harder to get a passport. Then you heard the Prime Minister said Caneros don't need a passport. Then you heard him say people in Southside don't need a passport. That's because they are in poverty, so they won't be able to afford it. Now with the Caneros, they in the sugar industry, so they're not going to leave. They're making enough money. But then here we come, a new method. And the new method is he don't want Belizeans that have ties to the country. You heard him say some of them don't even come here. They don't have ties. But if you have ancestral ties through your grandparents and your 4 grandparents, isn't that ties in comparison to these people that they are being paid to give amnesty and nationality? Because I will show you what are their goals. They have no intent to let the people in the diaspora succeed under the 7th Amendment or come back to take part in an election. Because, listen to this.
What is happening there is, particularly in one province of Canada, they're offering scholarships to Belizeans. And virtually every single Belizean who goes there is offered a job before they finish. Canada and other developed countries have been recruiting nurses, teachers, police officers from across the developing world, specifically the Caribbean, including Belize. And it is contributing to our brain drain. So that is something that I have raised with Taiwan, and that is something we intend to raise with Canada as well, because they clearly have a program that is designed to take the best and brightest of Belize and take them to Canada. That's not a friendly act.
Do people understand what he's saying? He don't want no more Belizean that goes to study. which has a constitutional right to get a job and stay over there. In other words, he wants to keep them in Belize because their intent is not to bring in any more Belizeans from the diaspora, regardless if they have what? Ancestral ties through mother, grandfather, grandparents. You heard him say with his own breath that
They don't want to
they are
abide by the
amending
Constitution.
the immigration law. So they
Mr.
are
Chairman,
willing, yes,
they don't want to abide by the Constitution because the Constitution says that they, the government, should not be dispossessing Belizeans of their birthright. And the Constitution says that Belizeans, then children and grandchildren, could become Belizeans. But it's not for the government to use the powers that is vested in the government to give foreigners nationality, that they're going to try and use that same kind of right and authority to override born Belizeans' prerogatives, which is what they're trying to do. They're conflating, but with an agenda, which is the biggest part of the problem. It's one thing if they're trying to make a mistake or stipulate something incorrectly, but it's another thing when they all damn well know the Constitution, especially like Mr. Courtney. He's one of our senior and most constitutionally versed person in the country. So he's supposed to be on top of those things and probably even better than you and I. And why the hell can we recognize that he's flim-flamming? And apparently he knows his assignment. And he's going according to his assignment, rather than going according to the Constitution.
Let me answer that for you, because this is the goal that they have. They have no intention. They have no intention to fix the 7th Amendment, because if you do that and you intend to go to a republic and a referendum come, the people in the diaspora can come in and say no, we don't want to go republic. So their intent is not to fix that.
Same thing like what Mr. Barrow did in the referendum. Same thing.
Right.
To block you off.
Secondly, the less Belizeans that were born here they can keep out, it makes it better for them to win a referendum if they go to change Belize to a republic. Because now Belizeans are being marginalized at home. They are becoming minorities in their own country.
And we all don't like that.
And thirdly, they are going even further than that. They are going further than that. Again, bastardization of the Constitution, using it to protect themselves, regardless of what the lady said. And what she said was, your rights are not negotiable or debatable. But listen to it how they do it. And this is for sure.
We have seen across the world where there are attacks and threats being made against various public officers and personalities in the media. In some countries, journalists are even killed. And we have recognized that there is a sort of imbalance in the legislation. Those individuals who are very public individuals and who are oftentimes targeted are not protected under the legislation. If an assault happens, it is considered to be a common assault, which the penalty is very low. And so we recognize the importance of protecting these individuals because they have certainly a high presence in society, and it is necessary that they are offered at least the protection of an aggravated assault charge.
They're all acting like a bunch of...
You heard it? An unconstitutional move. And they know it.
He's a liar.
They know it. You know,
just bamboozling the people.
And
the public.
I said it before. There's two ways to amend the Constitution: formal and informal. and informal keeps happening. As you turn around, they're doing it. Here is one. When they amended the marijuana bill so that they don't have a referendum, there goes two. This one with Oceana, there it goes again. They continue to do it. This PCC Act that is giving them the power so that they can call a referendum, and it will continue because
But
the
Mr.
people
Chairman,
is not holding them accountable.
Mr. Chairman, how is it that the clip we just played with Mr. Musa, right? He's claiming that they got to fix the laws or go and pass new legislation to toughen up the laws against people that commit crime, against the special people or the special interest people or the privileged people. Isn't he supposed to say, just like his prime minister says, that because there's a PCC out there, they can't make any laws then until the PCC come back, and then they could decide what they can do? Isn't that the right way to go if that's what the prime minister is saying? But they keep going to the house and making new laws, even though the PCC is out there. So when they are ready, as the prime minister wanted to bamboozle the general public, they could lie upon themselves and lie upon the commission, as if the commission have any such powers to stop the government from operating.
It don't, because it is a non-binding commission.
They still go to the house and make the laws.
It is a non-binding commission. It holds no power until it is put together and it goes through the House and to the GG for ascension. You know it, I know it, any legal minds out there know that.
But we've been repeating
what
it
they're
1,000 times already.
Is ludicrous. And likewise, I'm playing this so people can see the trend. I have been showing you the trend because, as I mentioned before, everything that has to do with this present government is with foreign investors. They cannot deal with the external affairs. They cannot deal with the internal affairs. And I will show you. Right now, the government is passing another tax bill to get more taxes from Belizean. As we speak, they are trying to get more taxes from Belizean. So it's nothing new of what they are trying to do, you know, and they have no shame about how they do it, because they prefer to hold Belizean accountable for thousands of dollars in tax when they are willing to give away millions in tax. And here it goes.
So they could.
Certainly, I believe that the Bolido slash lottery was a sweetheart deal. And everybody could have predicted who would have gotten that contract in 2020. And as we've been going through that agreement, we've noticed that the government and the people of Belize are foregoing millions of dollars in taxes. And it is not right for a small group of people to be able to get away with that. We're estimating at the 12.5% tax, which is what everybody is paying. We would be able to collect an additional $6 million. In 10 years, we gave up $60 million to Brads and to other people that are closely connected to the former Prime Minister. Your question, why is it that the former Prime Minister is defending this case, and why is it that his son Anwar Barrow is paying so much attention to this case that he logged on to the first hearing of that case? So we know that we're doing the right thing. We believe that everybody should pay some of their taxes, because with the taxes we help our young people, education, health, fighting COVID, investing in Belize. So we believe we're firmly we are convinced that we're doing the right thing.
Shouldn't he be doing the right thing with Portico?
No,
To
you
collect
heard
taxes
that.
from Portico too? Why is he giving sweetheart deal
Just
to
a
Portico?
second. Because I want to prove to
You
the
think that fool they
people
out there
at
to listen to
home
all
and
the
abroad
craziness?
who we are dealing with. I want to prove this to the people at home and abroad. Because he's willing to take away from Belizeans. He is willing to raise taxes on Belizeans, but he has no problem giving it away to foreign entities.
Well, the Portico legislation, well, presently, I think they are still working on it and to see what can be done to be able to present to cabinet.
What's being done is this draft, still in the strikeout stage, but it shows the major thrust of the proposed legislation. The Belize Cruise Ship Docking Facility and Tourism Village Development Bill is created to provide for the development of a cruise port docking facility and tourism village, and to provide for certain exemptions and benefits, and for the levy of a cruise ship facility fee, normally what you'd call a head tax. The bill provides for a fiscal incentives order, which entitles the developer to large tax exemptions. But not any developer, one who meets the investment requirements, quote, of not less than $250 million, we assume US dollars. And how many proposed ports fit into that category? Presently, only one, Portico, whose investors say they propose to invest $350 million US dollars. And to get this precious fiscal incentives order, the developer must apply to the executive director of Beltrade, who will, if the project meets the requirements, submit a recommendation to the minister, who would then issue that fiscal incentives order. The order exempts the developer, its funders, and contractors from any taxes, duties, or imposts, and from what might be called future shocks. The most interesting clause is one that seeks to insulate the developer from what a future government, say one led by Shine Barrow, might do. It says, where tax laws may be amended and or enacted from time to time that contain any provisions, the implementation of which would directly, adversely affect the project's economic benefits under this act, the minister will ensure that the amended and or enacted tax laws shall not apply and have no force or effect with respect to the project, retroactive to the date of such amended or enacted tax law. It's basically an immunity from the democratic process, guaranteeing the developer that a future government won't move the goalposts as Shine Barrow has threatened explicitly to do. As regards the head tax, the agreement refers to a facility fee of not less than $7 US, which will be shared between the developer and the government of Belize, with $2 going to the developer and the remaining $5 going to the government to be distributed among various funds and departments. The developers laud this proportional breakdown as a boon for Belize because they say they will receive 1.2 million guests per year and say that the amount then remitted to government will be $6 million annually.
So here we have it. He has no problem taking away from Belizean and giving to foreign entities. And look how much. Let me hear from you.
He's hoping to get $6 million a year from Portico. And he's moving hell and heaven, violating our laws and putting us over a barrel for many decades to come to get $6 million a year. When in fact, Brad's had the Bolido and was giving the government more than $6 million a year. And then he said that they weren't taking away Brad's Bolido thing because of malice. What was it because of then? when Brad Bolido was providing more than what political tourism organization will provide. And that is that political not come into existence yet in terms of providing no money. Brad is already providing cash flow to the government. And without the Bolido, which a lot of people used to depend on, a lot of people they do without the money-making schemes that they used to run. But it doesn't matter to Mr. Britannia because none of that to come out of his pocket. They affect for him. If there's something I have to do with the gas and the gas price, me I'm definitely move him to hell to make sure that he gas company and keep making their money. But that's how these guys they rule. They don't have the country at heart. Every one of them that you play clips of tonight were just lying from beginning to end and bamboozling the people and proposing to make laws that are contrary to the best interests of the country. That's what these jackals are about. They're not serious about governance, but yet they have the governance powers in their back pocket. And they play with it and haul and pull it to serve the interests of whoever can subordinate them, because that's what it's all about. That's why they can't get control of none of the government department where they run mordida scams, because they themselves are a bunch of scofflaws and kleptocrats. And some of these people working in these government departments are doing backhand deals for them. So they can't put no pressure on them people who could spill the beans on what they do. So the country just going to keep going worse and worse and worse. And I don't know when Belizeans will wake up, if they ever will. Mr. Chairman?
Well,
we got another.
Right?
I think I use up most of the time. I have to defer to you using up or leave it, and so we could balance out the time.
I have to say this. When our forefathers wrote the Constitution, they know what they were doing when they enshrine it in the preamble, specifying that it can never be written out of existence. And tonight, from my first video clip, I want the people at home and abroad to understand what this lady, a foreigner, had said.
You should play it again, Mr. Chairman.
Fundamental rights, I surely will, is not debatable or negotiable. So they might as well just stop with this PCC, because it ain't worth
some of them
a dime.
wind up at the Hague. Some of them wind up at the Hague.
Okay.
You don't believe me, but
let me play it again for the people.
The 4-day Social Protection Summit represents a significant milestone in the implementation of the UN Joint Program, with a primary objective to engage partners and stakeholders in a national dialogue towards the development of a social protection framework and a strategy for Belize. This will encompass a comprehensive social protection flow which will be costed, ensuring minimum protection across the life cycle for every Belizean. The United Nations is firm in its commitment to support the government in making a reality the social protection for all, as has been mentioned before, a fundamental human right, which means it is non-negotiable, non-debatable. It's just a matter of us getting on the board and moving the train forward. And I want to say at this point that I want to congratulate the government of Belize. Sitting in the second row and seeing all the powerful women sitting in the front row, I know we are on the right track. I think we want to give ourselves a big hand. Belize is ready to establish a social protection floor for all.
Well, I hope the people at home and abroad heard it for themselves. Your rights are not negotiable and they are not debatable. just
and they're enshrined in the
forefathers,
Constitution. They're enshrined in the Constitution and cannot be written out of existence.
the lady is saying
got
the
these
same thing
jackals
that the
still trying to do that.
forefathers. The lady is saying the same thing the forefathers said when they wrote the Constitution.
Exactly.
It couldn't have been said any better. So, with that said, I would like to close by saying good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad, and I thank you for tuning in. And this is our 54th edition of Belizean Affair. Hopefully tonight we had shed some educational assets to you. And again on Friday, we will have our 55th episode, which is Constitutional Night. And we will back on topics to try to teach you and educate you about your rights. With that said, let me turn it over to the Brackett for his closing.
Yeah, I won't take long. I just wanted to invite the public to please tune in on Friday coming, Constitutional and Legal Matters Night, 7:30 Belizean time. And I'm sure they won't regret having done so, because I think we'll have a little bit of fire and brimstone. God bless Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you for such a wonderful
Okay,
program.
let me close this out with a song as we slowly go out.
And it's a shamrock. We coming down. We run the town. We tired of this claiming from Guatemala. We tired of this fighting with Guatemala. We tired of this claiming from Guatemala. We tired of this fighting with Guatemala. This is a serious problem with the we borderline from 1859. Belize we had a treaty signed. It has been disrespectful. They want to take over we water, trespassing in our jungle. They shoot to our soldier.